Hello, this is Miss K here, and today we will be going through the OR sound, most typically spelled O-R and often O-R-E, possibly O-O-R as far as spelling is concerned. So we're going to first go through the steps of creating the sound. We'll get into a tiny bit of IPA, then I'll have images and or words that you can go through with your clients or your students. So for the OR sound, we're going to begin with more or less circular lips. Then we're going to recruit or use the muscles of the back of the tongue, which would be kind of under the chin. You can point here or here when you're working with your students. And then you have slightly pursed lips at the end. So I'm going to make my video bigger here, and I'll walk through these steps again. So we'll begin with the O, circular look of the lips, O, O. We're using the back of the tongue, so you can point here, here, O, and then I say slightly pursed lips at the end. We're not going full box, but it should no longer be completely circular. So all together, O, with a little bit of purse, a little bit boxy. Okay, so for my IPA SLP folks, we have the transcription here. So it is the backward C with the rhotic R and doors and door. Okay, now on to some words that you can practice. We have horse. So already I'm using the back of my oral cavity to make the H, the H sound. So you're going to go from back to creating airflow towards the front, and which is great. So horse, and you end at the very front with the S sound. And here we have the word north, north. So now we're starting with the nasal. So you're kind of going to have to go front, back, front, north. In fact, you're not going all the way back. You're kind of using the middle area, north. And I just give cues all the time, so please don't take these cues as articulatory cues that are taught through a series, or that you would touch your client or your student's mouth or face. I'm simply like pointing to the area that it's happening. I know that you can get trained and there's like certain exact movements, but this is just what I naturally do while I'm talking about these sounds, is I'll point to the general direction. Okay, moving on to sports. And now that we have SP, we have TS, we have these blends, this particular word might be a little more difficult for some students, especially if they're working on blends or the S sound, if they have a lisp or something. But again, if you're doing therapy to target a particular R sound, in this case or, then I wouldn't even mark if the S's are coming across clearly if you're focusing on the OR sound. Now, if your student has already wrapped up S and they start to slip up and get lispy, you can of course remind them. But I think what helps students and clients and kids is to like focus on one thing at a time. Don't you think? Okay, we got 4. Something is or someone, or the number 4. So here is an opportunity to talk a little bit about literacy, how the spelling doesn't always match the sound. Otherwise it'd be fo or, which we don't really have that type of R sound in English. So for FOR and FOUR have the same sound. Before. And this is another time you could talk about literacy and spelling. We have an ORE, report, fork. So fork and report may or may not be easier for some students to say because it ends with a stop. Report versus more, like ending on or, where your oral cavity is like flexing here, or where your mouth is like pursed and then you're flexing here, that might be really challenging. So you might consider using AI or going through a word list to find words that end with a stop or simply that end with a consonant instead of keeping the or longer and longer. For other kids, it might help them to exaggerate a word like or more and not have a consonant at the end. So I'm always down to try different things. If I notice, ooh, you know what, twice or 3 times I've heard the students say report, but when they say more, it comes out like more, I might first do ones that end with a T or a K to kind of have them practice that auditory awareness. Okay, I'm starting to hear it more, and then we'll go into words that there isn't a consonant or a stop at the end. All right, we have fork, tortoise. So yes, this could be challenging because of the S, it's multisyllabic, tortoise. And what I would do is chunk it, tortoise, and do it as 2 syllables if they're having trouble with the whole word. Orange, this could be another challenging word, or, because we have to go or, and then immediately open the jaw, orange, and then kind of like come back down to that more like closed mouth position. Corn, born. So these nasals at the end, corn, born, that might help someone kind of exaggerate the or sound, and then it's already like coming forward, and then you're using your nasals. So this could be something to kind of practice before getting into the more challenging placements of the or sound. More, sword, forge. Okay, so sword and forge, weird spelling, right? So you can talk to students about literacy here. Torture, and again, this is a double R sound. So if you are targeting the OR, the or sound, don't worry if comes out like You know, it could be an opportunity to like remind them, but you don't want to overwhelm them because they're already practicing something that's challenging. Or, of course. And so this would be an opportunity where I, as a clinician, share with students just how often we say the or sound as a word and how they can take this word with them throughout the week and start to notice it in their conversations. Do you want pizza or corn dog? Do you want to use a pencil or a pen? I don't know, things that kids talk about. They can bring it up. They might not even realize how often they say or. So if you notice them say or, you can gently tell them, remind them, look, I just heard you say it. Like, how cool that we're using these words in our everyday life, not just targeting them in speech therapy, to show them how valuable it'll be and that they can start practicing that auditory awareness in their everyday life with their families, at school, sports team, whatever it is. We have a name and a brand or a shoe particular. Jordan. This might jazz some kids up, you know, they want to talk to their friend, they want to say it correctly. This one is great, boring. I like to end on a funny note with my students, so I tell them, I hope this wasn't too boring for you. And I hope it wasn't boring for you either. So you can take these tips with you. You can watch this video with your students, with your clients, pause it anytime you need, keep track of how your client's doing, and I hope y'all take care. Bye from Miss K.